What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlemania here, back with another video. Just before we get into the video, don't forget to like or dislike the video, subscribe, turn on notifications and leave a comment down below. As recent events have shown us, anything can happen to wrestlers. They can get sick or injured just before pay-per-views, forcing WWE and management to make huge last-minute changes to a match, which could even be the main event. In this video, we look at 10 times the WWE was forced to make a wrestler substitution at the last minute. Number 1. The Big Show replaces the Great Khali. The Punjabi prison consists of a steel reinforced bamboo cage around all 4 posts of the ring, much like a standard cage, but it has an added, taller cage surrounding the inner cage. 4 doors can be opened if a wrestler requests, but only for the duration of a minute. When closed, it will not be reopened, forcing wrestlers to climb the structure and escape over the top. Funny how this requires a lot of athleticism to escape, yet the match type was designed and chosen by one of the legit biggest wrestlers in the WWE, the Great Khali. Its premiere was featured at the Great American Bash pay-per-view in 2006, a pay-per-view which had a number of substitutions. Firstly, Mark Henry suffered a knee injury. Bobby Lashley and Super Crazy were not cleared to compete that night after it was revealed they were suffering from elevated enzymes in their liver and thus replaced by Mr. Kennedy, who faced Batista, and Matt Hardy faced Gregory Helms. The Great Khali was unfortunately among those men who were suffering from the illness, but unlike the others, he was the reason the match was happening in the first place. Since Big Show aided Khali in the pre-match attack, Khali was then taken out of the match and replaced with the Big Show. Yes, a Punjabi prison match between 2 Americans. Makes a lot of sense. Despite the first match not being particularly great, WWE revived the gimmick match the year after at No Mercy 2007, where Khali finally got to wrestle in the match designed for him. Number 2. Kurt Angle replaces Roman Reigns. Much to WWE's fans' delight, Kurt Angle returned to the WWE early this year, but sadly it was in a non-wrestling role as Raw General Manager. Though many of us had anticipated his wrestling return to be sometime in 2018, fans were shocked to hear he would be replacing Roman Reigns in the recent TLC pay-per-view, returning to WWE in-ring action after 11 years. The show was admittedly of lackluster booking until a number of changes had been made after WWE confirmed both Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns were dealing with a viral meningitis outbreak, and WWE had effectively quarantined the pair. Finn Balor was to take on his demon persona and scheduled to face Bray Wyatt's apparent secondary persona, Sister Abigail. Even though the match was to finally reveal who or what Sister Abigail was, it wasn't well received by fans, including Balor's new pumpkin face paint. Instead, AJ Styles, who was exclusive to SmackDown Live, replaced Bray Wyatt, giving us WWE fans a dream match between 2 former Bullet Club leaders. Number 3. Johnny Nitro replaces Chris Benoit. On the 24th of June 2007, fans were eagerly awaiting a dream match between CM Punk and Chris Benoit, arguably at the time 2 of the best wrestlers the company had to offer. After Benoit no-showed the pay-per-view, WWE officials had decided to place either Johnny Nitro, aka John Morrison, or Kevin Thorne to be his replacement. In fact, in an interview, John Morrison told of his guilt when he prayed that Benoit wouldn't show up so he would get his big break and finally get his hands at a major championship. Little did he know, or even the WWE, Benoit had committed a double homicide, murdering both his wife Nancy Benoit and 7-year-old son Daniel Benoit. The last-minute replacement was given to Nitro. Much time after the shocking news broke to the WWE, Stephanie McMahon confirmed in an interview the original plans. If everything went to plan and Benoit had shown up to the pay-per-view, he would win the then vacated title and become the new face of ECW, and would hold the championship for a considerable amount of time. Number 4. Mark Henry replaces Rusev. For the first time ever, the Intercontinental Championship would be defended in an elimination chamber in 2015. Due to Daniel Bryan's injury, the title was left vacated and was to be decided amongst the 6 participants in the massive steel structure. Originally, the match was to consist of King Barrett, Sheamus, Ryback, R-Truth, Dolph Ziggler and Rusev. Before the pay-per-view, however, Rusev had injured his foot and consequently was unable to compete. As a last-minute replacement, the WWE decided to insert Mark Henry in his place. Luckily, Rusev wasn't going to play a huge part in the match, so Mark Henry just served as a replacement body. Number 5. The Big Show replaces Stone Cold Steve Austin. Survivor Series 1999 was the night Kurt Angle made his pay-per-view debut, but his debut had been overshadowed by one of the biggest storylines of the year, with Stone Cold Steve Austin being run over in a hit and run, kayfabe injuring him and taking him out of action for several months. The incident of course led to Austin being pulled out of the main event against Triple H and The Rock. The match however was not simply changed to a one-on-one, but Stone Cold being replaced by The Big Show, who walked out as champion. It was no secret that at the time Austin needed neck surgery, and this was the best idea to take Austin off television whilst keeping him in the spotlight to get much needed rest. It's such a shame the revelation of the driver bombed hard. Number 6. The WrestleMania 23 card. Originally, the WWE had hoped to have John Cena vs Triple H for the main event at WrestleMania 23. However, Triple H suffered a quad injury at the New Year's Revolution pay-per-view in 2007 against Rated RKO. Due to his injury, he was not cleared to compete at WrestleMania 23. Shawn Michaels was also originally set to be in the corner of Donald Trump, with King Booker being in Vince McMahon's corner during the Battle of the Billionaires match. HBK had to instead be moved up to the main event to face Cena for the WWE Championship, and as we all know, ECW champion Bobby Lashley was picked to be in Trump's corner and Umaga in Vince McMahon's. In fact, more changes would have to be made, as Lashley was originally going to face the Great Khali in an ECW Championship match. Instead, the WWE decided to have a monster versus monster bout between the Great Khali and Kane. Also that Kane could be body slammed by someone bigger than him in an effort to capture another Hogan vs Andre moment since they were in Detroit. As for King Booker, nothing was really left for him, so they decided to insert him into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Effectively, due to Triple H's injury, we had 4 match changes to the card. Number 7. The Ultimate Warrior replaces Brutus Beefcake. Brutus Beefcake spoke once on how he was supposed to become Intercontinental Champion 3 times, but it never happened once. One of those times would be in 1988 at the SummerSlam pay-per-view. The Honky Tonk Man had an incredible run as champion, having the longest reign in history with 454 days. That reign would come to an end on the night of SummerSlam. Originally, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, who was in a feud with the Honky Tonk Man at the time, was going to win the belt from him, but as a last-minute replacement, management felt the Ultimate Warrior was a more popular draw and was chosen in place of the Barber, who was shown earlier on the pay-per-view as being kayfabe injured by Ron Bass. Number 8. Shawn Michaels replaces Jerry Lawler. Have you ever wondered why Shawn Michaels was put into a match with 3 random knights inexplicably at the 1993 Survivor Series? Well, whilst the WWF steroid scandal was playing out all over the news at the time, one particular controversy occurred which somehow managed to go unnoticed, that being a statutory rape charge against Jerry Lawler in 1993. Before Lawler's case went to court, the girl involved admitted she made part of her story up, which was good enough for the charges to be dropped. Lawler was then brought back to TV without any explanation, joining back with Vince on commentary. Before these charges were brought however, Lawler was in a bitter feud with Bret Hart. The storyline was building up towards a payoff at Survivor Series 1993 with the traditional 4-on-4 match, and it was to be the Harts versus the King and his Knights. The only problem is if you were watching at the time, Lawler was nowhere to be found on the day, due to the charges being brought against him. The WWE quickly replaced him with Shawn Michaels. Who were those 3 Knights? Barry Horowitz, Greg Valentine and Jeff Gaylord from the USWA. Number 9. Razor Ramon replaces Shawn Michaels. In the mid-90s, Michaels was always known for having a bad and cocky attitude backstage. Due to his popularity, Shawn would get a lot of attention inside and outside the ring. During a night out with both Davey Boy Smith and Sean Waltman, the trio went to a local bar in Syracuse. Details are sketchy, but the story goes that Michaels had been chatting to some ladies at the bar, some who were with a bunch of Marines. After Shawn was running his mouth off, by his version, 6 Marines jumped him and his pals, making an unfair 3-on-6 advantage. Michaels was left battered and bruised, so much so that he was unable to compete at the upcoming In Your House pay-per-view, where he had been scheduled to face Dean Douglas for the Intercontinental Championship. Michaels forfeited the championship to Douglas on the pay-per-view, and instead, Razor Ramon took his place, defeating him due to being unprepared. And number 10. Shane McMahon replaces Baron Corbin. In the week leading to the 2016 Survivor Series, fans were rather shocked when they saw SmackDown team member Baron Corbin leave its team members in the ring after the brand challenge was thrown down by Daniel Bryan. At the end of the show, Daniel Bryan confirmed that Corbin was out and a replacement needed to be found. His replacement was none other than Shane McMahon. Despite a packed roster for SmackDown Live who could fill in for Corbin, they picked Shane O'Mac. Well, to be fair, he is a bigger draw than Corbin ever was. Well guys, there you have it. 10 times WWE was forced to make a wrestler substitution at the last minute. Were there any we missed out? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.